Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Julie.
And I'm Kiri. We're dancers, creative business owners, and your hosts for conversations at the intersection of creativity, entrepreneurship, and wellness.
Today's episode is extra special because it's releasing around International Women's Day, a time to reflect on how women are redefining success, leadership, and balance on their own terms.
Our guest today is Erin Thomas Wong. Erin is the life-friendly business mentor, an author, a podcast host who supports female solopreneurs to build purposeful, profitable businesses without burning out.
With over 17 years of entrepreneurial experience, Erin champions a life-friendly approach to business, one that works with real life instead of against it.
She's also the host of the Life Friendly Business Podcast and the author of How to Build a Life-Friendly Business. Welcome, Erin. So excited to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's really cool. So start us off by sharing a little bit about who you are and the work that you do.
So I'm the life-friendly business mentor, and I work with a lot of heart-led women to help them build businesses without burnout. So it's all about doing things on your own terms, to your own measures of success, and without sacrificing time with your family or your own well-being.
It's amazing. And this is something that I think we both need, Jules, isn't it?
Yeah, I hear this coming up a lot, especially with business owners. Is it something that you experienced yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this has been a long journey for me. So I used to work in TV production and I had my first son in 2008 and went on maternity leave thinking that I was going to take some time off and be a real earth mother. And then I realised however much I loved my son, I needed to be doing something. And the idea of going back to TV just felt impossible because of the hours and, you know, it was so intense and all those things. And actually, even financially, living in London, the cost of childcare would mean I'd be working full time and taking home a few £100s a month and not be able to see my child, not be able to put him to bed. So there was a real kind of turning point for me of thinking, you know, what is success here? What do I want for my career? And it was at that point that I started looking into the idea of running my own business.
Yeah, so it's really having children that drew you into working for yourself. So was that about 17 years ago then? How old are your children now, Erin?
So my eldest is about to turn 18 and will be leaving home to go to university. So yeah, and I've got a 12-year-old as well. So I've been through all the seasons. I've, you know, been through the kind of the baby years and then starting school and the stop-start nature of working around school terms. And now the joy is that I get to go into perimenopause and looking after parents and all those things. Yeah. I mean, this is the point.
Sandwiches, is that right?
Sandwich generation.
Sandwich generation.
And I think, you know, all this time, all these years I've been, you know, I really immersed myself in the whole entrepreneurial stuff when I first started out and reading like the 4-hour work week and all these things and Miracle Morning and all these. And I'm like, how can I have a morning routine when I have a child that doesn't sleep at night and he still wakes up at 5 a.m? When do you do that? And there's a lot of business advice out there that assumes unlimited time and unlimited capacity. And that's making women feeling like they're failing. But they're not failing. It's just that this wasn't designed for them.
No, definitely. And we think, having a 9-to-5 job, that's still going to be tricky, having children and doing all the housework and running, you know, working and earning and being employed. And we think, let's run our own business because that's going to be a bit easier. We could be flexible. We can work around the kids. And it sounds lovely. But actually, I work for myself as well, and so does Jules. You still got to manage that time, and time still isn't unlimited, and you've still got to get everything done in a business. So I think what you're trying to send the message out is really, really important. Tell us a little bit more about your podcast. And actually, you've got a book that's just come out. It's coming out very soon, isn't it?
Yes. So my podcast is called the Life Friendly Business Podcast. And it's all about kind of bite-sized inspiration about the reality of running a business around family life, but also the mindset gremlins that stop us. And I do interviews as well with experts or other women that are running their own businesses. So it's really really about kind of offering that reassurance that you're not on your own with the challenges you face. And I think, with all the women I've worked with over the years and in my membership, like, it doesn't matter what your business is, you've probably got the same frustrations, the same challenges as the woman next door to you. So having a space where you can talk and like access the hive mind is just amazing. So, the book, How to Build a Life-Friendly Business, is my framework, really, that I've been refining over the last 10 years of this business. So this is my 5th business over 18 years, my sole focus now. But I kind of started thinking about the life-friendly approach for myself, and then realised how many women were resonating with the things that I was sharing with them. So I designed this framework and I've put it into a book. So it's very exciting to get that out in the world.
It's amazing.
And when you mentioned your book, your eyes lit up. It's like something that you're so proud of. And it's lovely to know and feel the energy that you're going to support other people through it.
Thank you. And it is, it makes you feel a bit vulnerable, really, because it's all stuff that's in my head. It's my ethos, it's my values. And I have another book called Mumpreneur Evolution, which is a collection of interviews with women in my community. And I published that during lockdown. And I felt very vulnerable then, but this is even more so because these are all my words. But I know that this stuff has impact because I see it in my work every day. So I'm really excited to try and reach more people. And it's a short read. You can read it in an afternoon because none of us have got time to be reading a long book. So hopefully it will help spread the message.
We get told that women can have it all. That is like a key thing that I think our generation particularly, like have kids, work, do all the housework and just be this sort of superwoman. And that's how we're sort of brought up thinking, I just need to do everything. Because we're sort of in that middle generation, aren't we? Where we're trying to get to equality. We're trying to get the husbands to do stuff around the house. And although they're getting better, it's still not quite at that point. I really feel like I'm still having to say, have you done this? Have you put the bin out? Or can you help me with this? Ben's very good, by the way. But there's still that inequality there. I don't know whether you feel the same, Erin.
Yeah, I think I'd call it the invisible load that we carry. And there's the whole thing about, and obviously I'm not anti-men, but you can say, can you organise dinners for this week? And they'll say, what should we have? And you're like, no, I don't want to have to think about it. This is all part of the things in my head, what to buy. Just write me a list. No, I want you to write a list. And I think we are on the cusp, I would like to think, of things changing when we recognise that, yes, women, we want to have the career and we want to do all these things, but we're still very much stuck in this model where men worked and women stayed at home. And now we're trying to work and do all of the home stuff. And don't get me wrong, when it comes to having kids, myself and I know a lot of the women I work with, we want to be there. We want to be the main carers of the kids. But we're carrying all this stuff. And the problem is that business advice now does not incorporate that. So business advice is assuming that we have unlimited time. So we've got all these women who are creating strategies for themselves and then not able to follow through because of all their other commitments. So they feel like they're failing. And running a business is not the easy option by any means. It is hard. And there's a lot of online toxic messaging about earning 6 figures in 3 months. And, and actually it is a long game. And so, it's not about waiting till you reach a certain level of success to put the work-life balance in. That needs to be baked in at the start.
Here, agreed. Toxic advice of earning 100,000 in a year. It's unrealistic, unachievable. Let's make it real.
Yeah. And in fact, I think the statistic is still right. The average UK salary is 35k full time. Okay. And I know lots of women who would love to be able to earn 35k a year on their own terms, working flexibly around their kids. And, I know from my own experience and from others, right now as well, looking to see, could I get a part-time job? Could I do something to just bring in a bit of extra money? And you've got professional women that have had careers, maybe corporate careers beforehand. And all you can find are Sainsbury's jobs or supermarket jobs or for £12 an hour. And there's something wrong here. Yeah. So basically we have to design our careers ourselves and on our own terms, and not fall into the trap of the 9 to 5, falling back into, and it's not 9 to 5 when you run a business, is it? No. It's very easy to fall into 8 to 10 p.m. because you love what you do. And you always feel like there's always more we can be doing. So this is why we need to put the boundaries in for ourselves and be really strict with ourselves.
Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, these business books don't account for the school holidays. They don't account for leaving at 2:30 to go and collect the kids from school, do they?
No.
And then, like you say, then we feel like, oh, we're not achieving as much. So tell us a little bit more about the framework and what sort of tips that we can, I mean, if you need some tips on how to run a business, definitely listen to Erin's podcast. It's called the Life Friendly
Business Podcast.
Podcast. And what I love about it is they're like really short snippets of advice and information. And I was listening to it thinking, this is so true. This is me. This, you know, there was one thing about the holidays and how we, as we run a business, we don't necessarily get like 30 days holiday. Do we? We have to then book our own time out. But it's so important that we do. And yeah, let's talk about wellness and boundaries and how we can rest and around our businesses.
And I think that's where building a realistic schedule comes into play. So yeah, if you've got kids, then I can't remember off the top of my head how many weeks it is a year. Is it like 13 weeks? Yeah. 13 weeks a year. School holidays. Okay. So if you design a strategy where you're, you know, planning to be doing activities during that time, and then you can't because actually you've got to look after your kids, you're never going to get the results that you want. So we need to factor that in. Also, you know, curveballs like ill children. Unfortunately, this week I spent a day in A&E with my son who fell off his bike again.
First week back to school.
First week back to school. Completely meant that I couldn't do any work for that day. Obviously, I want to be the one that takes him to A&E and sit with him. Of course I do. I'm his mum. You know, I want to be the person there. But it also meant that I lost a day of work. So if I had made my schedule so rigid that there was no room for that flexibility, I would have gone into overwhelm and been complete in meltdown. And I think that's where we've got to acknowledge all these other things going on in our lives in the way that we're planning out our year.
Yeah, excellent advice with making it a realistic target to begin with. So not setting yourself like, oh, I could stretch this and I could achieve that. Actually setting realistic targets from the off based on your timetable. Yeah, great advice.
Yeah.
And even for business owners that don't have children, there's still going to be curveballs that come up. And if you're running a business like Jules does as well, and yeah, don't have children, there's still going to be things that are going to come up where you're going to have to come away from the business and you don't get sick pay, you don't get holiday pay, and you're going to have to account for those things. And I think even for Jules and other people, this book and the podcast is going to be really, really useful for lots of women.
I think, you know, you're absolutely right as well about our own energy levels. So it's not even just about looking after other people, it's about looking after ourselves. And part of the life friendly approach is being the best boss to yourself that you can be. And that's about self-leadership. That's about recognizing what you need in order to thrive and making sure that you're accounting for that. And, you know, one thing that I think really helps is implementing CEO time. You can call it whatever you want, but the fact is, if you're a solo business owner, you're also the CEO.
Yeah.
And I really recommend doing it on a weekly basis. I do it every Monday morning. I block out my diary before 11. I take myself off to my local cafe and I sit there and, you know, transition into the working week and then think, right, what's on my to-do list? What's actually still really important? Where are my priorities? What can wait? Rewrite a fresh to-do list. And what it means is that instead of starting the week reactive, immediately going on and answering emails like we did when we were employed, because it was all about that, wasn't it? You are now a business owner and you get to start the week in a proactive way. And that will absolutely shift the way that you show up. And it just means as well that every week you can be checking in with your current capacity, not your wishful thinking of like, this week I've got all this time. Actually, this has come up, that's come up. How can I change things so that I'm not going to get overwhelmed and burnt out?
Yeah, two things I love there. First of all, you're your own boss, so why not be nice to yourself?
Yeah.
And secondly, you saying about that Monday morning when you go to the coffee shop, what a lovely start to the week. Why not make it nice? Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
And a place that you enjoy being to set those targets.
And bringing yourself out of your normal, environment. Like when you work at home, you don't have the transition of going to an office. You've got the dishwasher and the washing machine, and your brains. And especially if you've put the kids off on the school run, like thinking about your environment is so important, because especially if you want to do creative work, you need to be setting yourself up in the best way possible to do that.
Yeah, where do you thrive? Like when I worked from home, I couldn't work from home. Like I just found there was exactly all things to do in the house, and even just going downstairs to make a cup of tea, you'd see that the kitchen needed tidying, so you'd do it. So I work in an office now. I although I work for myself, like I'm employed, I have a very employed structure. So I go to the office and I do work like traditional hours, but that's where I thrive. And so it's identifying where you thrive.
And your company works like that well, though, doesn't it? Yeah. Those traditional hours in recruitment, because everyone's open sort of that 9 to 5 time, and you have staff. So you want to make sure you're managing the staff as well during those times. Whereas if everyone was working from home, it would be a bit tricky. I tend to go to cafes like for my work. But yeah, I'm quite good in terms of I don't work like 9 till 3 every day, because there's always things that come up. Like we've said, I've got appointments. I like going to the gym. But yeah, when I do sit down, I have like 2-3 hours, and I go to a cafe, whether that's, I don't know, the gym one or a Costa or something. And it's just coming out of the home and not being distracted, and just being in that nice setting and talking to people that I know that are regulars, and it just adds to your day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes you out of your own head.
Yeah.
Because we're so easily stuck in our own heads, aren't we? And yeah, I think having that perspective to be able to lift yourself out of the day-to-day running of the business, and self-leadership to know, what you actually need, and then implementing that, rather than just feeling hard done by all the time and feeling like, I hate working from home, or, and just, do it. Take action. That's what we need to be doing.
And I love like planning per week, and having a few things, I pencil in a few like things to do's every day, and then do the emails afterwards, because then you feel like you've actually achieved something. Because if you start with emails, they just keep coming.
And people reply back to your emails.
Yeah.
Don't reply. I'm trying to empty my inbox.
You really do. Once you start in a reactive manner, you just continue like that. And then you feel like you're not in control. And, you can feel that kind of triggering feeling of like, but I've got all this other stuff to do. Another strategy that I talk about, and I talk about in the book as well, is about the 5% activity. So this comes from James Wedmore, who talks about the fact that actually only 5% of the activities in your business actually lead to 95% of your results.
Wow. Can you just repeat that?
So 5% of your activities lead to 95% of your results.
Wow. Business owners, employees, listen. That's really important.
And what happens is we make ourselves busy with the other 95% things that don't actually move the needle. So, like scrolling on Instagram because you meant to go on and post a story, or going on to Canva and then spending hours fiddling. Whereas actually, if you spend your time marketing, visibility, looking after your customers, customer fulfillment, those kind of things, that is going to be more impactful. So I think the other big shift is recognizing that if you have limited time, that doesn't mean that you can't make impact. And actually, sometimes you can make more impact in a couple of hours in a coffee shop than you can sitting at your desk all day, scrolling.
Yeah.
And so when you've got this whole kind of 5% activity thing in your head, it really helps you to refocus. So that's what I do in my CEO time as well, is looking at my list of to-dos and like which of these are, and which of the things that are the most important activities, and what can only I do. Because then the other things could be outsourced, or you could have systems and processes in place to help you with them. But I think, that's where we really need, if we want a life-friendly business, we need to be so effective with our time. We need to get really good at that.
Really important. I was listening to your podcast, and one of the episodes I really loved was about rest, and how, going back to the holiday allowance, and how we don't necessarily give ourselves that time. But what I love about when it comes to the school holidays, you're very much right. This is my time with the kids. it's the school holidays. I'm not going to be not working completely, but I'm definitely going to have reduced hours during that time. And I'm trying to do that as well. But actually, when you do have rest, you do have ideas that come to you, which is what you said in the podcast. I was like, that is so true. You think, oh, just keep going, I've got to keep working. But actually, it's amazing what ideas do spring to mind when you give yourself some time off. And like you said, Erin, in the podcast, write them down. Don't necessarily deal with them and action them, but write them down for future. And that's what I actually do as well. It's really amazing when you suddenly think of these new ideas in your rest time. And yeah.
And I think that's about like taking the pressure off yourself to have everything figured out. We always feel this pressure, like for our brains to be whirring all the time. And yeah, as soon as I say to myself, okay, I mean, I was crawling to Christmas. I was like, oh my goodness, like 2 weeks before Christmas, I was like, I'm ready to switch off. But I kept going. As soon as I said, right, it's Friday, that's it. The next day, my brain was like, ping, with ideas. And I think, we can capitalize on that. We can allow ourselves time to rest, knowing, having that trust that the blue sky thinking will then come through. And when you're creative as well, it's so important to allow that space. Like, we have to have buffer space in our week. If you're scheduling, and one of the things I say as well is that if your business only works when you are at full capacity, it's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. Because any curveball is just going to throw a spanner in the works. So, you really need to be thinking about the way that you're running your business and making sure there's flexibility there.
That's going to cause anxiety as well, isn't it? If you're constantly working at full capacity all the time with no space for manoeuvre. I mean, it's all very well planning for extra appointments here and there. But yeah, you do need to make sure you're flexible enough to have the day off every now and again if you need to.
Yeah, and have people to lean on as well in your team.
Do you get ideas, Jules, I'm thinking when I'm swimming or if I'm at the gym, sometimes I might get a little idea, like try and factor in time like that. So I'm wondering whether you do as well, Jules, when you're dancing, or you still so in the moment when you're dancing, so a bit more intense, isn't it?
I'm really structured. So wherever I'm in, I'm fully in. So if I'm at work, I'm fully at work. When I dance, I'm fully dance. I don't know. I don't have those kind of amazing ideas when I'm not at my desk. So yeah, I guess you say it's just knowing yourself. So yeah, if I'm out and about, I'm not thinking about work.
But you know what, that, like you say, it's about knowing what you need. And, I definitely, and that's one of the big things, I think, if you're like we are, that, you need that white space to have those ideas. Like, we can find ourselves just replaying the work life, the professional work life of thinking we have to be sitting at our desk, even when you're not in the zone. You feel like you're wading through mud, but you're like, well, this is work time. I've got to make the most of it, so I'm going to stay at my desk. And it doesn't actually help us. No. So, if you do need to get up and move around and go for a walk and go and meet other people, I mean, networking, going to events, you actually come up with some of the light bulb moments which change the direction of your business.
And that is work.
Yes, that's the thing. But we're so still tied into, like, to go to work means to sit at a desk and do those things. And that has got to change. It is starting to change. And I wonder what, my 18-year-old will be like when he goes to work. I think things are starting to change. And especially with AI and tools like that can help free us up from the mundane, admin tasks. Then we can spend more time out in nature if we want to.
Absolutely. With networking, I've always been a bit adverse to it because I'm like, I haven't got time. Like you say, I can't block out a day away from my actual work to go networking. I just haven't got time for that. And I'm still a little bit like that, but I know it is important. But the reason why I know it's important is because when my little ones were in the creche at Little Down Leisure Centre, do you ever use the creche, Erin, when yours were little? No.
Oh, when they were little, yeah.
Yeah. It was,
She's like, no, not now.
Not now. 18-year-old in the creche.
It was such a lovely facility, like when mine were little. And there was a few of us mums, actually, that were, my children are 10 and 12, so maybe we didn't cross paths. But there was a few of us mums that used to drop the kids off at 9, do a gym class like 9 till 10, and then work 10 till 12. It was like so tight. But we did it. And then occasionally we used to like all sit around the same table together and like chat. And I was like, oh my goodness, but we've only got 2 hours to work. I just haven't got time for this sort of big chatty group. But we naturally just fell into it a couple of times every now and again. And it was so beneficial because we learned from each other. Like, a couple of us asked questions. Oh, how do you set up this Instagram account? That was when, we weren't doing Instagram back then. Or how would you do this? And it was so lovely. And we actually learned a lot and really developed our businesses through that time, rather than all working individually on these different tables and just sort of waving from afar.
That is exactly kind of what I do in my business as well, is bring women together to have those conversations. So my membership is all online, but I do some in-person events in Bournemouth. And one of them is called the CEO Day. And it's a maximum of 11 women in a room for the day together. And having that space to immerse yourself, working on your business, doing a bit of masterminding, talking things through, you can see the light bulbs going off. So it's not all about me giving advice. It's actually about them giving advice to each other and sharing their own experiences and their own wisdom. And it's so powerful. I think sisterhood like that is just magic.
It's amazing, isn't it? And it's not about comparison, not about competition. It's just about supporting other women, and actually you can learn from them just as much as you're giving them advice. We were talking about with Chris, weren't we, on another episode about mentoring and being a mentor or looking up to somebody. And that's a similar thing, isn't it? Like when you're in a group of other business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Like peer-to-peer work. Yeah, definitely. And having a mentor, someone who has kind of walked the path before you, is absolutely invaluable. And I think, there is a real lack of relatable female mentors. And that's where I'm trying to kind of stand up there and get visible and champion this life-friendly approach. Because, I interviewed a woman years ago who told me a whole story about how she'd gone to pick up her daughter from school. A client called, and of course she felt like, I've got to answer it now. And she found herself saying, oh, I'm really sorry, it's very noisy because I'm at Waterloo Station. And she said she put the phone down and thought, why didn't I say I'm picking my daughter up from school? And this is true for so many of us. We feel like we have to hide those things because we'll look less professional. And we need more women to talk out and be real about it.
Or even give an excuse at all.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's noisy.
Yeah. But our first instinct is we can't possibly give our child as a reason for, not being available 24/7.
Yeah, I read something somewhere, like, aren't children not meant to exist until 6 o'clock in the evening? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you said about how you found your niche. We were actually talking the other day about that, weren't we? But you said it also again today about this. Well, you're on your 5th business, but this is where you really find that you found the message that you want to deliver. Because again, we can be doing so many different things. We're always juggling like a million. I'm at that stage. I feel like that I am juggling a few different hats at the moment. Still finding my way. I'm getting there. But yeah, is it nice to get to that point where you're now delivering that one message and you've got your niche and you can help people in that way?
Yeah, it is. It's a great feeling, but it's taken a long time to get here. I wouldn't want anyone else to have to wait 17 years. But, when I first started Life Friendly Business 10 years ago, which it was first launched as Making Mumpreneurs, my confidence was quite low. Obviously, I'd been running businesses, but my incentive for doing it was to create community and connection and create a place where people could learn things. But of course, I didn't think I had anything to teach. So I was getting experts in all the time. And, a couple of lovely cheerleaders would say to me, you should do a training. And I was like, me? Oh, I don't know. And I was so scared of speaking and speaking in public and things like that. And over the years, I kind of started dipping my toe in and then realizing that people were reacting really positively to it. So, it takes time to get that confidence in yourself that you can actually help people. I feel like, the last 5 years, I've just been refining it more and more. And the book really is the kind of culmination of, yes, I know what I'm talking about. And yes, it's much less decisions to have to make in my head of, right, I'm going to be speaking at this event. What are my key talking points? I know what my key talking points are. And that is a really nice feeling.
Yeah, I think understanding that not everyone's got access to the perfect expert nearby. So maybe sometimes we have to step up and be that expert, or go on a journey to be the experts. It sounds like there were perhaps opportunities and eventually you decided to take it. So what happened or was there an example of a specific scenario that made you take that opportunity?
I think there's, people would ask me like how I had done something, or, what my experience of something was. And then I realized that I felt quite comfortable saying, well, I did this. Instead of you should do this, I did this. Yeah. That's quite a different reframe, isn't it? On like, I'm just sharing my experience. And also I love learning. I think, you kind of have to, don't you, as a business owner, because there's always new stuff. And so then I thought, okay, if I learn something new and do it, and then I can share that. So it's kind of that process of, I think, and I talk all the time about, standing up with authority and speak about what you're doing. And people go, I'm not an expert, even though they've been doing it for 20 years.
What is an expert?
What is an expert? But the point is that you can share what you know.
Yes.
And all you need to do is be 3 steps ahead of the person behind you to help them. And that's the kind of the way that I've moved forward in my business.
It's having the confidence to say who you are as well, isn't it? Like, even, after running a business for quite a while, to say, I'm an entrepreneur, things like that, or I'm a radio presenter. Like, it takes, or a podcaster, it takes a lot of confidence to say who you are, doesn't it? And I'm not, again, saying I'm an expert in all those things, but we are those things, and we can say that we are those, but it's having that confidence.
We have to. Yeah. We have to, because we are selling ourselves. Like, we are the person behind the business, and we have to have that confidence. So even if it means practicing it over and over again. And that was one of the things I did, this like online course. And the one thing that I took away from it was about claiming your crown. And that's when I changed my title to Life Friendly Business Mentor to the Life Friendly Business Mentor.
Ooh,
and doesn't it make a difference?
Yes.
It's like, I am the Life Friendly Business Mentor. And at first I was like, oh, but now I'm like, no, I am the. And just doing little things like that and getting comfortable with it, and then pushing yourself a little bit more.
Yeah. It's like changing your, was that on your Instagram, your title?
Everything. I did it all my bios in one go.
The bio, it's hard to do it, like rewrite. I've rewritten my bio so many times on Instagram to try and, anyway. Let's talk about the book again. Like, if there's one key framework, Erin, that you want someone to take away from the Life Friendly business, that's really going to help them, and also thinking about International Women's Day as well. So we got to think about that. What advice or what key point would you say to women?
It is hard to narrow it down to one. But I think the overall feeling is that, giving yourself permission to do things differently, because the old model might not actually fit you. And instead of it making you feel like you're failing, maybe recognise that actually this is my opportunity to carve my own path here. And, International Women's Day, for me, the whole thing about sisterhood has been instrumental in my own journey, surrounding myself with women who lift me up and I can lift them up. I've always found that really, really powerful. So celebrating women and women supporting women is really important.
So, Erin, can you let us know what is coming up for you this year? Have you got like a few little days of meetups coming up?
So my annual Momentum Day is happening like right this week in March. And then I run my quarterly CEO days in person, and they've gone down a storm. So I might be doing more of those. But this year is all about the book for me and getting the message out there. So I'm going to maybe take myself on a little self-led book tour and basically, and just reach out to the members that I have kind of over the UK and say, can I come and visit you and do a little free talk for people? So I think, I really need to push myself. I feel every year I get a little bit braver in terms of putting myself out there. And the whole point of this book was to create a kind of vehicle for getting the message out to more people. So, I've got to drive it. That's what I've got to do. And
It's all nicely in one little book, and it's all perfect, and it's your niche. It's great. You've got to get a message out.
Where can you buy the book?
You can buy it on all online bookstores. So, yeah, How to Build a Life-Friendly Business by Erin Thomas Wong.
Excellent. And on your website, you've got a website as well, haven't you?
Yes, it's lifefriendlybusiness.com.
Because I noticed there were some one-to-ones that you could book, which I might have to do.
Yeah, one-to-one mentoring is absolutely the way that I love to support women, because I see that they're supporting everyone else and it's my job to support them. So I do packages with Voxer, which is a bit like WhatsApp. So it's like voice memo. So we have a monthly 1-hour session and we make a plan of action. And then they've got me Monday to Friday on Voxer. So they can share with me all the ups and downs, and I can be there to give them the pep talk they need and, you know, look over things for them and help them make decisions and, you know, guide them. So I love working in that way.
Amazing. So yeah, check Erin's podcast out, her book, her website, everything. She's got so much to offer.
On your website, I think you scroll right to the bottom for your podcasts, don't you? I got one of your out of offices and it said to listen to the podcast, like go to the website. So I went and I think I scroll right to the bottom. So keep scrolling, go right to the bottom.
Oh no, it should be in the menu bar, but that's good feedback.
Right to the bottom and then I found it. I was like, there it is.
Right, I'm changing it. I'm updating my website.
Or just go to any podcast platform. Just
okay, fine. Yeah. It's probably more sensible.
So lots coming up, Erin. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been amazing chatting to you. Honestly, you're so inspiring. And I can't believe that we've only just met. Like, well, we bumped into each other a couple of times in Bournemouth, haven't we? But it's nice to finally have a good old chat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you again to all our listeners and to producer Pablo, who we couldn't do without.
Absolutely not.